In every small town, there's always something people avoid talking about. An abandoned house no one goes near, a name no one says out loud. It's a story that gets cut short the moment it's brought up. But what if those silences weren't just superstition? What if they were protection? From the Appalachian hills to desert ghost towns, these aren't just legends. These are the real accounts, chilling, disturbing, and buried deep, where everyone knew something was wrong, but no one dared to speak. You're about to hear 7 of the most terrifying true stories from places where the quiet isn't peaceful. A warning. It's something scary, and if you're brave enough to uncover what lies beneath the surface, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and let's step into the darkness together. Because once you hear these stories, you'll never drive through a small town the same way again. Story 1. The last bell of Elkwood was 17 the first time. I heard the bell. It was 3:33 in the morning. I remember that exact time because I'd just rolled over in bed to check my phone after a nightmare, the kind where your feet won't move, and something's crawling just out of sight. I live in Elkwood, a town most people pass through and forget by the next gas station. But that night, something deep in the dark rang out clear as day. Single, metallic, tolo, and heavy, like it came from underground. The problem is, Elkwood hasn't had a church bell in over 20 years. The old Trinity Chapel on Hawthorne Hill was torn down when I was a baby. Burned in an electrical fire in '98. People say it was lightning. Others whisper it was something else. Whatever it was, the fire spread so fast the steeple collapsed before firefighters even got there. 7 people died, including Pastor Harlan. That bell-solid iron, imported from Italy, was never recovered.
Ow.
No one knows what happened to it. Some say it melted. Others say it was stolen. Ow. But no one talks about it out loud. Like most things in Elkwood, it just became part of the silence. Until that night. The next morning, I mentioned it to my mom at breakfast. She froze mid-sip of her coffee and said, "You must have been dreaming." Then she quickly changed. The subject had never brought it up again. But the next night, it rang again, 3:33 a.m., just once, like a countdown. I started asking around, casual at first. I mentioned it to Mr. Dobbins, the librarian, while returning some books. He looked like he'd seen a ghost and said, "Some sounds ain't for hearing, son." Then he locked the front door, even though it was only 4 p.m. when I asked my friend Jenna about it. She got real quiet. She said her grandma used to call it the mourner's bell. Said if you hear it, someone close to you is going to die. Laughed it off. Told myself people in Elkwood love their stories. But the thing about this town is, sometimes the stories don't stay on the page. 3 days later, Officer Raymond was found dead in his patrol car. Heart attack. He was only 42, left behind a wife and 2 daughters. A closed casket funeral. Didn't put it together, not then. I was still trying to convince myself it was coincidence. That I hadn't actually heard a bell. That I was dreaming until the next ring came. 3:33 a.m. Clean. Cold. Like the sound passed through the walls and into my chest. I woke up gasping. This time I sat up and listened, my ears ringing after the echo faded. There were no cars, no wind, no crickets. It's that emptiness after a sound that shouldn't exist. 3 days later, Mrs. Hutchins, my English teacher, didn't show up to class. They said she had a stroke. Died in her kitchen with the stove still on. Her dog barked until neighbors called the cops. That's when I started keeping track. I kept a journal. Every time I heard the bell, I wrote the time, the day, and then waited. And every single time someone in town died 3 days later, young, old, healthy, sick, it didn't matter at first. They were people I didn't really know. A mailman, a gas station clerk, a substitute teacher. Then they got closer. My cousin Eli, then my aunt, Then my neighbor's baby. After each death, the silence in Elkwood grew heavier. People stopped going out at night. Windows stayed shut. Churches held services in whispers. No one said anything about the bell, but I could see it in their eyes. They heard it too. Then one night the bell rang, and no one died. Day 1 passed, then 2, then 3. I thought maybe it was over. Maybe whatever curse was hanging over this town had lifted. But on the 4th night it rang again. Only this time it rang twice. Once at 3:33, again at 3:34, and this time, I swear on my life I heard a voice behind it. A whisper. It said, my name, just once, soft like it was being spoken through glass. Caleb, my blood ran ice cold. I sat frozen, heart hammering. I didn't sleep though. The rest of the night, the next morning, I went to Pastor Lorne, the only preacher left in town. He was old, blind in one eye, and mostly kept to himself since his son died years ago. I knew he used to serve under Pastor Harlan before the fire. When I told him about the bell, he didn't act surprised. Instead, he took my hand, looked me dead in the eye, and said, once the bell knows your name, it don't stop ringing, not till it gets what it came for. He handed me an old key, said it was from the chapel, said the ruins were still there, under the vines and the brush, behind the cemetery at Hawthorne Hill. If you want to know the truth, he whispered, you go there, but you go alone. That night the bell rang 3 times, each one louder than the last. I packed a flashlight, my journal, the key. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I didn't want them to try and stop me because something in me needed to know why me, why this bell, why now. And somewhere deep down, I knew. The answers were waiting at the ruins of Trinity Chapel. I reached the ruins just after midnight. Hawthorne Hill was colder than I remembered, colder than it should have been in late September. Fog pressed low to the ground like a blanket of ash, curling around my ankles as I walked. The key Pastor Lorne gave me felt warm in my pocket, almost alive. I didn't question how or why, just kept walking, flashlight in one hand, my old notebook in the other. The remains of Trinity Chapel weren't easy to find. The woods behind the cemetery had swallowed everything, trees growing through cracked stone, moss covering what little foundation still stood. But when I stepped into the clearing, I felt it immediately. The silence, thicker than air. No bugs, no wind. Not even the rustle of leaves. Dead silence. I found the steps under a pile of broken stone, nearly invisible. The door was gone, just a warped frame left behind. I took a breath, pulled the key from my pocket hand, even though the lock was long. Gone. I placed the key against the frame anyway. I swear I felt something shift, like a permission being granted. I stepped down. The air grew colder with each stare. My flashlight flickered, then steadied. The smell hit me first. Damp earth, soot, and something coppery beneath it all. The basement had survived the fire, hidden under the chapel ruins all these years. There were markings on the walls, burned into the stone, not carved. Symbols I didn't recognize. Some looked like eyes, others like twisted crosses or hooks. In the center of the floor was a circle of blackened brick, charred, cracked, and hollow. I knew what it was before I even got close. The bell had never been destroyed. It had been buried. I circled it, and shaking, light darting around the walls. There were chains embedded in the stone, shackles. Someone had sealed the bell down here like it was dangerous. Like it wasn't just metal, but something else. Something alive. That's when the sound came. Not the bell, not yet. Breathing, ragged, wet breathing. Behind me, I spun, light flashing across the room. But there was nothing. No one. until I looked up in the farthest corner of the chamber. Something moved, crawling. It was shaped like a man butt, stretched bones too long, skin the color of old candle wax. Its mouth hung open wide and round, but there was no face, just a cavern of darkness, pulling in the air with each wheezing inhale. It pointed to the bell. Then it whispered my name, Caleb. The same voice I'd heard behind the toll I ran, or I tried to. The second my foot hit the stairwell, the bell rang. Loud, deafening. So loud, I dropped the flashlight. The entire chamber shook, dirt falling from the ceiling. The bell didn't ring once. It rang 7 times. Each toll hit my chest like a hammer. I scrambled out of the ruins, lungs burning, ears ringing. Didn't stop running until I was back at the edge of the cemetery behind me. The bell kept ringing, each time softer, but closer. When I got home, the phone was already ringing. I didn't answer. The message was from the sheriff's office. Caleb, I'm sorry to tell you, your mom. She passed away in her sleep tonight. Massive aneurysm. No signs. It was sudden. I dropped the phone. 7 rings. 7 names. I checked my journal. 7 people I'd written about. All dead. And I was the 7th. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I started digging. The old archives at City Hall, digital newspaper records, even handwritten journals at the Elkwood Historical Society. Trinity Chapel wasn't a regular church. It was founded in 1892 by a breakaway religious group from New England, they believed. The soul had a weight that the moment of death could be measured and trapped. They built the bell using iron from a decommissioned asylum. According to the documents, the bell was tuned to the threshold of the soul. It's designed to toll at the moment of death to collect what lingers. They called it the mourner. Pastor Harlan was obsessed with it, said the town was sinful, said. The bell was the only way to keep judgment from falling. But in 1998, something went wrong. The bell rang on its own 3 times, the same day. 7 people died in a fire. The chapel burned from within, and the bell was never found. They buried it, to stop it from ringing, to stop it from taking more, but it was still listening, and now it had my name. The next night, I didn't wait. I went back this time. With a can of gasoline and a sledgehammer, I stood above the chamber and poured the gas in a wide circle. The smell was sharp, stinging my nose. My heart pounded with every step. I lit the match. The flames whooshed to life instantly, orange and furious. I lifted the sledgehammer above my head and walked down into the pit. The bell sat in the center like a dead heart, cold, silent. I brought the hammer down hard. Once, twice, sparks flew. But the bell didn't crack. It rang. Not from the hit. From itself. A deep, slow toll that rattled the floor. The air thickened. The room spun. And then I saw them, faces in the dark. 7 of them. All people I knew. All people who had died. Eli, my aunt, Mrs. Hutchins, even my mom. Their mouths were open, whispering my name in unison. Caleb. And standing behind them, the thing from the corner. It's taller now, smiling, its face finally forming my face. The last thing I remember was the bell ringing one final time. They found me in the woods the next morning, clothes torn, eyes wide, hands bloodied. I don't remember what I said, only that I kept whispering, "It's coming, it's coming." They say I survived, that I'm lucky, but every night since then, at exactly 3:33 a.m., the bell rings, and now others. Hear it too, not just in Elkwood, not just here, it's spreading. And you, yes you, listening right now. If you wake up tonight at 3:33 a.m. and you hear the sound of a bell, don't listen, don't move, and whatever you do, don't let it know. Your name? Story 2. The babysitter and Dogwood Holloway should have listened when Ava said, "You're not supposed to draw her face." It sounded like something a 6-year-old would say to be creepy on purpose. But she wasn't joking. And she definitely wasn't playing. Let me back up. I was 18 that fall, saving up for college by babysitting. Mostly weekend gigs, nothing out of the ordinary. But when the Kendalls called me, I remember my mom pausing when I told her the address. "Dogwood Hollow?" she asked, frowning. "That's practically the woods. It's just a few houses." "On a cul-de-sac," I said. "What, are you scared I'll be kidnapped by squirrels?" She didn't laugh. The Kendall family seemed normal at first, rich, polite, distant. The mom Lena kept checking her watch while giving me the house tour. "Ava's easy," she said, like she was reading from a script. "Just feed her around. 6, she draws a lot. Let her. It keeps her calm." The dad barely looked me in the eye. He was pale and jumpy, like someone who hadn't slept in days. Before they left, he whispered something to Lena that I couldn't hear. She whispered back, "She won't remember. It's just one night." That was the first red flag. The second came when I found the door to the basement bolted shut with a padlock from the outside. Ava was in her room, surrounded by piles of drawings. Crayon-covered printer paper, stacked and scattered. She was quiet, polite. Her eyes never quite looked directly at me, always slightly off A's. If she was listening to something behind me, we played a board game, ate some mac and cheese. By 8 p.m., she was drawing again. Same figure, over and over, a woman in a long black dress with black hair covering her face. I asked, "Who's that?" Ava didn't answer. Instead, she started another drawing. Same figure. Only this time, she scribbled violently over the face with thick black crayon, like she was trying to erase it or hide it. Then, out of nowhere, she said, "If you draw her face, she finds you faster." I stared at her, waiting for a punchline. But she just kept coloring. "Who is she?" Ava shrugged. "She comes when people don't believe in her. That's when she's the strongest." I laughed nervously. "Okay. Creepy kid mode. 10 out of 10. "No," Ava said, dead serious. "Now, creepy is when she hums. Have you heard her hum yet?" I shook my head. She looked relieved. "Good, if you do. Don't answer her." I changed the subject and tucked her in by 9. She didn't resist. Just crawled under the covers and whispered, "If she asks for her name back, don't say it." By then, the hair on my arms was standing straight up. This didn't feel like a game. By 10 o'clock, I was on the couch, watching TV, and pretending I wasn't creeped out. But I couldn't stop thinking about those drawings. So, like an idiot, I looked through them. Over 30 pages. All of the same figure, long black dress, tall and gaunt, black hair covering her face. In some, she was standing in corners. In others, peering from windows. One showed her crouching on the ceiling like a spider. Only one had a face drawn. Just one. A twisted, oversized grin. No eyes. Just empty sockets and sharp teeth. And below it, in Ava's handwriting, "I'm almost home." I felt cold, like someone had opened a window. Then I heard it humming. Soft. Female. Coming from upstairs. It froze. It couldn't be Avashi was asleep. And this wasn't a child's hum. It was older. Slower, like something you'd hear from someone rocking in a chair. Alone in the dark, I turned off the TV. Listened hard. Nothing. I told myself it was the pipes, or the house settling, anything but what I really feared. But then I heard footsteps. Not stomping. Not casual. Deliberate, heavy steps from upstairs. I grabbed the fireplace poker, and crept up the stairs. Flashlight on my phone shaking in my hand. Ava's door was closed, still humming. I knocked. Ava. No answer. I opened the door. The room was empty. Sheets pulled back. Window wide open. Wind blowing her drawings across the floor. The humming stopped, and then from behind me. At the end of the hallway, I heard it again. Humming, closer. Turned on, saw no one. But on the wall, drawn in thick black crayon, was a brand new sketch. Fresh, still warm. It was the woman, standing in the hallway, facing. No face, only hair, and underneath a single sentence written in a child's hand. She already knows your name. My flashlight flickered, then the light bulb in the hallway exploded above me. I ran downstairs, heart pounding out of my chest. Locked the front door, the back door. To every window I could find, Ava was gone. I called 911, reported her missing by the time the police came. Her bedroom window was closed. The drawing on the wall? Gone. Every drawing in the house? Gone. Not one left. Like they'd never existed. But here's the part that really made my blood run cold. When I told the officers her name of a Kendall, one of them looked at me strange. "Ma'am," said slowly, "there hasn't been a child in that house since 2009. I laughed. I told him I saw her, spoke to her. He didn't laugh back. That girl, Ava Kendall, she died 16 years ago, drowned in the bathtub. Babysitter stepped out for just 5 minutes. When she came back, Ava was gone. Only thing left was a drawing in the hallway." "Was it?" I asked. The officer hesitated. "A woman in black, no face." And the words, "She asked for her name back."
The one who watches from the wall. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up, staring at the ceiling, trying to rationalize everything I saw. The drawings, the humming, the girl who wasn't real. But I knew what I saw. I knew Ava was real. I held her hand. I fed her dinner. I watched her draw that thing, the woman, over and over. And yet, the police said she died in 2009. That was 16 years ago. They said her body was never found. Only water in the tub and a single crayon drawing left on the wall. Same as mine, same words. She asked for her name back. I quit babysitting after that, obviously. But I couldn't quit thinking about Ava, or what she said, or that look in her eyes, like she was trying to warn me. For a few weeks I tried to pretend it never happened. I threw away my notebook. I deleted the Kendall's number, blocked the unknown calls that started coming every night at exactly 3:33 a.m. Would just open with the sound of humming. I unplugged the phone after the third night. But that didn't stop the drawings. They started showing up in my room at first. It was one on the mirror in black lipstick. The woman with the long black dress and hair covering her face. Then there were more crayon sketches slid under my door while I slept. One folded into my hoodie pocket. One inside the microwave when I opened it. I started locking every door, sleeping with the light on. But they kept coming, and they weren't just drawings. Any more, they were messages, childlike handwriting and shaky crayon. She can smell your fear. Don't look in the mirror. You drew her face. That last one stopped me cold, because I hadn't. I never drew her face, but someone had, and now I was paying for it. I finally snapped the night. I found a drawing taped to my bedroom ceiling right above my head, staring down at me. The woman, face now fully drawn, empty eyes, grinning mouth full of black teeth. Underneath, you saw her. She sees you. I lost it, grabbed every drawing, every scrap, and burned them in the kitchen sink. Pages curled and blackened. Smoke filled the room. I kept going, tossing matches, like a maniac, till every trace of her was gone, or so I thought. I moved out of my parents' house the next week, a tiny studio, apartment across town, plain, clean, no basement, no mirrors, nothing from Dogwood Hollow. It worked. For a while, until I heard humming through the wall. At first I thought it was the neighbors. Thin walls, maybe an old music box. But the sound came every night, same time, same tune. It started low, almost sweet. Then it turned off-key, slower, sadder, like someone humming through their teeth. By the third night, I pressed my ear to the wall and heard something underneath the humming, scratching like nails, scraping across. The wall between me and whatever was on the other side. I knocked once. Silence. Then a knock back. I moved out of that apartment after I found a drawing on my refrigerator. Door same woman, same hair. This time closer. Like her body had grown to fill the page. Underneath a single line, I'm in the wall now. I went to a therapist. She said it was trauma. Stress response. That sometimes the brain can't distinguish past and present fear when it's left unresolved. I didn't argue. I told her what she wanted to hear, but I didn't stop digging. I found more stories, old threads, forums, archived posts, deep web message boards. People describing a woman with no face, seen by children always after drawing her. Some called her the Hollow Maid. Others called her Mother Black, but the name that showed up most often, the one who watches from the wall. Legend says she's an echo, a memory of a mother who lost her child in the woods and now collects other people's. But she can't take them unless you draw her face, unless you invite her in. Ava had known. That's why she scratched out the faces, why she warned me, why she said, if you draw her face, she finds you faster. Someone must have drawn it before I got there. And she attached to me, feeding off fear, off belief. I didn't tell anyone this, but last week I dreamed of Ava. She was standing in the hallway of that house again, drenched, barefoot, holding her drawings. She said, "She's almost here. You need to give her what she wants." "What does she want?" I asked. Ava looked down, her name, and woke up with a name stuck in my mouth, like I've been saying it in my sleep. Mara. The name hit me like cold water. It wasn't mine. I didn't know any Maritha, but when I said it out loud, the lights in my room flickered. The TV turned on by itself. Static. Then a low hum. I haven't said it again since. It's been 2 nights. The humming is louder now. The wall behind my bed feels warm, not like heat, more like breath. I swear I saw her fingers today, 5 pale tips pushing against the wall, like paper softening from the inside. I'm writing this down not to escape it, but 'cause someone has to know. Someone has to see this. Because I think she's coming through. Tonight's the 3rd night, and I can feel her watching right now. She's in the wall, behind me, humming, waiting. And if I say her name again, even once, I don't think she'll stay in the wall anymore.
Story 3. The lights in Blackwater Field we never should have gone into. Blackwater Field. Everyone said it was just an old power station decommissioned in the 70s after some electrical fire. But people around here don't talk about it. Really, they pretend it isn't there. Like ignoring it might erase it. But for us, it was a challenge. It started with a TikTok. That's how these things always start. Some kid from the next county posted drone footage of strange lights hovering over the field, floating low and silent, pulsing in weird, impossible patterns. The comments went nuts. Aliens. Government testing site? Portal?
It's
Naturally, my friends wanted to check it out for ourselves. There were 4 of us. Me, Nathan. The one with the camera, Tori, who always needed to prove people wrong, Jace, our ride-end. The one who brought the weed, Marley. The quiet one with a fear of open spaces. We went on a Friday night. Late. No traffic. Just us and that creeping. Wide open sky. Blackwater Field isn't on any official map. It's just there. 20 acres of dead land, surrounded by barbed wire and forgotten signage. The power station itself still stands half-collapsed. Rusted steel skeletons and concrete walls smeared with lichen. I started recording the moment. We got out of the car. Say hi to the conspiracy nerds, I joked. Tori flipped off the camera. Jace laughed. Marley didn't say anything. We climbed through a hole in the fence, flashlights slicing through thick, humid dark. The air felt weird, dense, electric, almost. Like the second before a thunderstorm, but the sky was perfectly clear. We walked maybe a half-mile into the field when we saw them. The lights, no sound, no movement, just there, for glowing orbs. Pale blue, hanging maybe 8 feet off the ground. They pulsed in slow, rhythmic bursts. Dash bump, dot, 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 BUH dash bump, dot, dot. Like a heartbeat, Jace said. Drones. Tori said. Reflections. Marley whispered, we shouldn't be here. I zoomed in with my lens. No propellers, no blinking. Just light, pure, and cold, and somehow, dot, 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 wrong. That's when Tori walked toward one. Jace told her to stop. I said, let her. It's probably just some weird light show. But Marley grabbed my arm. Her hand was ice cold. Please, she said. Don't go closer. They'll see you. Who? I asked. But she didn't answer. Tori stood directly beneath one of the lights. It hovered perfectly still above her. She waved her hands, then laughed nervously. Nothing. It's just a floating light. Big deal. And then it moved. Straight up fast. So fast it vanished into the sky like a shot. No sound, no delay. 1 second it was there, next, gone. Tori jumped. Back? What the hell? Jace ran over, looking up. The other lights didn't move, but something else did. The grass dot, it started bending. Not from wind, but in ripples, like something was crawling underneath. The field was shifting, moving in. Long arcing patterns toward us. My camera started glitching, digital static cutting through the viewfinder. The audio warped, dragging in slow motion, growls and electronic whines. I looked down, and the soil was glowing. Pale blue light, same color as the orb seeping up through the cracks, between the blades of grass. Then Tori screamed, not like she. Was scared like she was burning. We turned, and she was gone. Not gone like she ran. Gone like she had folded into the air. 1 second there. The next dot, 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 not a patch of her shoe was left behind. The rest nothing. JC dropped the flashlight. Marley started crying. I just stood there, still filming, too shocked to stop. The 3 remaining lights started to move slow, now drifting sideways, like they were scanning, like they were searching. We have to go, Marley whispered. Jace didn't wait. Took off toward the fence. I followed, dragging Marley behind me. The lights followed, no matter how fast we ran. They floated calmly behind us, never speeding up, but never getting further away. The sky above us was wrong. The stars looked twisted, stretched, like they were bending around something invisible in the air. We made it to the fence. Jace climbed through first. I shoved Marley through. Just as I crawled after her, Something hot and cold hit my leg at the same time. It wasn't pain, it was absence. Like part of me had been erased. I fell out the other side. The lights stopped, hovered at the edge of the field. No further. Jack pulled me to my feet. "Tori's gone," he said. "She's gone." Marley was staring at her hands, shaking, whispering something I couldn't hear. I checked my camera. The footage was corrupted. Nothing but static and frozen frames, except for one image, a still frame of the field, and in the middle where Tori had been was a shadow. Tall, narrow, no face, not a person, not a reflection, just a shape with too many arms, and behind it, a crack in the sky like reality had split just for a second. We drove in silence. No music, no talking. Marley whispered one thing. Before we dropped her off, "They weren't lights," she said. "They were eyes." That was 3 months ago. Tori's been declared missing. No trace, no leads. Her parents think she ran away, but I know better. Jace doesn't return my texts. Marley moved away without warning, but me. I've been watching the footage every night, and 2 days ago it started changing, not the original, the corrupted file. The one full of static. It's fixing itself, frame by frame, and the crack in the sky is getting wider.
It's been 31 days since we saw the lights. 27 since Tori vanished, and just 3 since the sky changed. No one talks about it, no weather reports, no headlines, no TikToks. But I see it. It's there. A distortion like heat, rising off asphalt, but it's in the sky, and it's growing. At first I thought I was just losing it, post-trauma, or whatever the therapist calls it. But then I opened the corrupted video again, the one from Blackwater Field, and this time, it played not just a frame, a full 7 seconds. 7 seconds of a sky I don't remember seeing that night. Stars blinking in patterns. The lights not 4, but 6. And in the center, something emerging, not a craft, not a person, something. Without symmetry, it's all wrong angles, and too many limbs dragging behind it like strings in water. It didn't walk. It leaked forward. It's like it was never meant to exist in motion. Then the video glitched again. But when I paused it frame by frame, one still showed something I didn't expect. Tori standing near the crack in the sky, arms out, eyes wide, smiling, but her skin wasn't right. It had texture, like wax stretched over moving insects. I called Jack. It went to voicemail, but 15 minutes later he texted me. "Don't call again. I'm not going back there." Called Marley next. She didn't pick up either. But that night, she came to my door. At 1:14 a.m., barefoot, eyes sunken, soaking wet. Even though it hadn't rained in a week, she didn't knock. She just stood there. I opened the door slowly. Her voice was a rasp. "You've seen it, haven't you?" I nodded. She stepped inside without asking. "I had a dream," she said. "Or maybe a memory. I don't know anymore." She sat on the floor, staring at her feet. She was there, Tori, but she wasn't. Something was using her like a puppet. The lights, they weren't lights. They're holes, like eyes, but also mouths. Openings. They don't just look, they pull. Then she said something I'll never forget. "They're not from another planet. They're from somewhere deeper, a place behind everything, older than time, cold as thought. And now, they've found a way through." That night, we didn't sleep. We watched the footage again and again, and each time, more of it played, like it was remembering itself. One new segment showed the inside of the abandoned power station. Only we never went inside. But there was footage. filmed. From my perspective, jittery, handheld-like found footage from a horror movie, I could hear my own voice whispering, "Do you see it too?" But I don't remember filming it. Marley grabbed my arm. "You didn't shoot this?" "I know," I said. "I never went in." "Then who did?" The next frame made my blood freeze. A shape was in the doorway, tall, thin, skin tight like plastic wrap. A face but mirrored, wasn't mine. But it was wearing mine, and it was smiling. We went back to Blackwater field the next night. We didn't tell anyone. We brought no phones. No camera. Just flashlights and a flask of holy water from Marley's grandmother, who refused to explain what it was really for. The field was silent. Dead grass bent backward in windless air. The lights were waiting, 6 of them now, arranged in a perfect circle, hovering over the black dirt. They didn't move. They didn't flicker. They just pulsed, like something inside them was alive. We stood at the edge. Neither of us moved, until the ground rippled. Marley gasped. "Do you feel that?" I did. Like the land itself was breathing. That's when the hum started. Low, mechanical, but not human-made. Like a memory of a machine. One light moved. It lowered, touched the earth, and something stepped out. It was wearing Tori's shape, but it wasn't her. Too tall, too fluid. Like it was learning how to move as it moved. Its mouth opened too wide, and then it spoke, not aloud. Inside my head, "We are the return." Marley dropped to her knees, screaming, holding her head. The thing stepped closer. Its hands no, its appendages, stretched toward her. I stepped between them, shaking. "Take me instead," I said. "Silence, then." In my voice it said, "You already came." I woke up on the side of the road, 2 miles from the field. Alone, Marley was gone. There were burns on my arms circular, like small suction marks. My ears bled for 3 days. I haven't told anyone, because what would I say? They wouldn't believe me. But here's the part that scares me most. Last night, I woke up at 3:33 a.m. to see a faint glow outside my window, pale blue, hovering, waiting. And when I checked the mirror, my reflection wasn't me. It was the thing from the footage, smiling.
Story 4. The Coffin Maker's Boy. There's a silence in Hollow's End that doesn't exist anywhere else. It's not the peaceful kind, it's weight. A silence that sticks to your skin like cold grease. Locals will tell you it's just the wind, caught between the hills. But if you stay long enough to feel the town watching, you'll understand. Hollow's End doesn't forget. It doesn't forgive. I left that place 17 years ago, never looked back. But something's been scratching at my dreams lately. Not a memory, a voice. A boy's voice, soft, hollow, whispering from box beneath the floorboards. "You left me down there. Let me tell you about Tobias Wren, the coffin maker's son. He didn't talk. Not once. Not to his teachers. Not to the neighbors. Not even to his father. Ezra Wren, a man with hands like rotted bark and eyes too dull for grief. The Wrens had run the town's coffin workshop for generations. Wren and Son Funeral Carpenters, the old sign read. They lived behind the workshop, in a crumbling house that smelled of sawdust and wet dirt. You'd only ever see Tobias outside when he was hauling, scraps or gathering wood, barefoot, pale, always watching. I was 13 the summer it happened. That's when the dead stopped staying dead. It started small. Someone saw their grandmother, standing in the rain 2 nights after her funeral. Another swore they heard singing coming from the graveyard. Then, dogs went missing. Then people. But this story isn't about what came back. It's about who let them return. We all thought Ezra Wren was a drunk, broken old man with too many debts and not enough customers. But he had a reputation for two things: building coffins that never rotted, never allowing anyone to help him build them, not even his son. He worked by candlelight, alone, always alone. Tobias would fetch materials, but he never crossed the threshold of the shop after dark. I remember seeing him once through the dirty workshop window, just standing there, watching his father sand a lid in complete silence. Something about it made my skin crawl. Then came the storm, the kind of rain that feels biblical. The river swelled, roads washed out. The church roof caved in. In the middle of it all, Mrs. Daly's body went missing. She'd been buried 3 days. Prior in one of Ezra's handmade coffins, a simple pine box with strange iron latches on the inside. No one questioned it. Ezra was just odd like that. But the next morning her grave was empty, and Ezra gone. But Tobias wasn't. Sheriff Pike found the boy sitting on the porch, soaked through, holding a rusted nail puller in both hands. Wouldn't speak, wouldn't move. Just stared at the tree line behind the house, like he was waiting. They questioned him for hours. He never said a word, but they found scratch marks, deep ones, on the inside of the shop door. Marks that hadn't been there before that night. More graves were dug up. That's when folks finally turned on the Wrens. A crowd gathered, torches, hammers, crowbars. They weren't going to wait on law. We followed them, me, Eli, Rory, and Jenny. We were stupid kids. I'm hungry for something to feel important. When we got there, the door was already broken. The house was empty. The shop. Inside weren't normal. They were wrong. Too long. Too narrow. Each lined with old teeth hammered into the wood like nails. Symbols etched inside circles within circles, all pointing to the headboard. The air inside that shop didn't smell like pine or glue. It smelled like opened graves. Then someone screamed it was Jenny. She'd found a trapdoor under one of the coffins, hidden under boards, covered in dust. We shouldn't have opened it, but we did. We found stairs, rotted, steep, leading into darkness that breathed when you stepped near it. Sheriff Pike went first. We followed behind. The walls were lined with shelves. Each shelf held a jar. Each jar held a tongue, at least 2 dozen, suspended in something black. Still twitching like they were underwater, at the far end of the basement was a single coffin, not nailed shut. Not sealed, open, and inside. Tobias smiling. His eyes were white, not rolled back, completely white like polished bone, and in his hands he held a small black hammer made of jawbone. He sat up slowly. Sheriff Pike raised his gun. Tobias opened. His mouth and every tongue in every jar screamed at once. I don't remember how I got out. All I remember is sound, like wet branches snapping, people shouting, and a voice to many voices all, coming from one mouth. He gave me a voice, and now I give them back. Woke up 2 days later. The shop had burned down. Pike was dead. Rory vanished. Jenny never spoke again. They found the basement sealed shut with fresh concrete. No sign of the coffin. Or Tobias, they said it was a gas leak. No. One talked about the tongues, or the jars, or the screams that echoed across the valley for 7 nights straight. 17 years later, the dreams are back, and this morning, I found a box on my doorstep, wood, blackened at the edges, lined with iron teeth, and inside it, a notaton in a child's hand. You still owe me your voice. The coffins were never empty. I shouldn't have come back. But the box, the note, that voice from the past, I couldn't ignore it. You still owe me your voice. 7 words written in that same looping innocent script. But I recognized it instantly. Tobias Rendot, or whatever wore his skin the last time I saw him, I told myself I was just going back to confirm it was gone. That the nightmares would stop if I saw Hollow's End rotting into the ground like it should have years ago. But the moment I crossed into the valley, the air changed. Thicker to still, like the town had been holding its breath. Main Street was emptier than I remembered. The old post office boarded up, church caved in. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. I parked outside the ruined remnants of Wren and Son, just an outline now. Skeletal boards blackened from the fire 17 years back, but the smell hit me the moment I stepped out. Not ash, not mildew, pine sap, blood. The shop was supposed to be condemned, but someone had cleared the path to the door. I stepped inside slowly, flashlight sweeping across collapsed rafters and broken tools. Then I saw it, a single new coffin, standing. Upright in the center of the room, hand-carved fresh nails, and a nameplate that read, Milo James Hartley. My name? My legs locked in place. My breathing went sharp, shallow. I moved closer, hand trembling as I ran it across the wood. It was still warm, and then it creaked, just a fraction, but enough. I turned around and sprinted out of that hellhole, but Hollow's End wouldn't let me leave. When I reached my car, the tires were shredded. The windshield cracked from the inside, and the back seat was full of wood shavings. Fresh. That night, I broke into the old library. It was closed, long abandoned, but I remembered the cellar key was still taped behind the breaker box. Some habits die harder than ghosts. I needed answers. And, I found them in the town ledger. Ezra Wren hadn't just built coffins. He built prisons. Each coffin was a container.
Not for bodies,
but for souls. Names scratched in red ink filled the margins. Beside each, a symbol, a date, status, and next to Tobias Wren's name, opened, voice restored, status, vessel. I flipped the pages faster. Rory's name, taken. Jenny's name. Sheriff Pike, refused, broken. And mine, only one word, owing. Then the floor above creaked. I shut the ledger and crept to the edge of the cellar. Stairs. Something was moving, dragging, slow, deliberate. I killed my light, and from the shadow, I heard it again, that voice. Small, childlike. You left me in the dark. Tobias, I whispered. What do you want? The silence that followed was unbearable. The pressure in my ears like being underwater. Then you watched them seal me away. You didn't scream. You didn't speak. Now I need your voice to finish. The song? I didn't wait to find out what that meant. I bolted out the back door into the woods behind the library, straight toward the old cemetery. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. But as I reached the gate, I saw something that made me stop cold. Every coffin Ezra Wren ever built was unearthed. Dozens of them, upright, standing like soldiers, and in front of each a person, motionless, eyes wide open, not blinking. I recognized some faces from childhood, people who'd moved away, neighbors who got sick. Even Rory, his mouth was open like mid-scream, but no sound came out. Each person had a string of iron nails across their chest, embedded deep, a latch on their throat, all perfectly still. And Tobias stood in the center. He hadn't aged a day. His skin was pale wax, his eyes hollow white, the hammer still in his hand, and around him, tongues floated in the air, spinning, writhing like worms in molasses. They circled above. And as he raised his hand, they began to sing. It wasn't music, it was pain, the sound of despair being chewed alive. I dropped to my knees. My ears bled again. My eyes throbbed. Then he walked toward me, one slow step at a time. He knelt beside me and whispered, "Ezra made the first mistake, and he thought silence was peace, but silence is a door. And you, Milo, were the one who left it open." He lifted the hammer, and I felt something leave me like a breath. I couldn't take back. The pain stopped, so did the sound. Then I woke up. In my apartment, no blood, no forest, just silence. But when I tried to speak, nothing came out. My voice is gone. I don't mean hoarse, I mean gone. No sound, no whisper, not even a breathy hum. And this morning, another box appeared on my doorstep, smaller this time, inside. Single tongue, mine still wet, still twitching. Final words narrated whisper, "The song isn't finished. Now." You've heard the silence too. You start dreaming of coffins, don't open them.